And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
All right, Sunday morning flying weather graphic here showing IFR up across the north slope there and IFR over the western Bering Sea and extending along the north shores of Unalaska eastern Aleutians there to the Alaska Peninsula. Pretty good VFR in the interior and marginal VFR here for the eastern North Gulf Coast right on down across the Panhandle. And then for the afternoon, marginal VFR kind of overspreads the southeastern part of the state here down to Cook Inlet. Kodiak staying VFR, Panhandle stays marginal, and most of the interior not too bad with a lot of VFR. And now some IFR just off the central and western Arctic coast, possibly coming down into the Cape Lisburne Point Hope area, and then through the Bering Strait down to about St. Matthew Island, marginal VFR. Followed by VFR here, Nunivak Island to the Pribilofs, southern Bering Sea Aleutians, marginal VFR, including the Alaska Peninsula there, right on into the Aleutian Range, connecting with the area here over the Cook Inlet zone. And then IFR from about Amchitka Island or so, westward. Monday morning, IFR, eastern Bering Sea now, into the Yukon Delta, and all the way down to the north shore of the Alaska Peninsula, northward through the Bering Strait there, catching Kivalina, Point Hope, and Cape Lisburne. And marginal VFR along the Arctic coast. Good VFR holding in the interior. Marginal VFR turning an arm, Resurrection Bay, Prince William Sound, in across the southern Copper River Basin, and then continuing down along the southeast coast here. Another zone of IFR coming into the western Bering Sea. And we'll see that kind of nudges eastward by Monday afternoon here, but keeping Adak and Atka in the VFR zone, marginal for the Pribilofs, some IFR up across St. Lawrence Island into Nome, Teller, Tin City, and also along the northwest coast. Interior Alaska looking really good, actually from the eastern Arctic coast all the way down into Bristol Bay. Kodiak Island, VFR. A little bit of IFR here in the western Gulf of Alaska, and marginal VFR covering the Kenai Peninsula, Prince William Sound, eastward there along the coast into the northern Panhandle. Passes Anativik and Atigan looking really good for the Brooks Range. VFR for both of those passes. And Lake Clark and Merrill, marginal VFR. All of the Alaska Range looking rather marginal for the day. Sunday, rainy, windy. Isabel and Mentasta, all forecast to be marginal. And for Tanita, same forecast, marginal VFR mostly. And for Portage, marginal VFR. Same thing for the southeast coast there, or northern, not the, southeast coast, as well as Chilkoot and White Passes, marginal VFR. Freezing levels 2,000 to 4,000 feet here, along and just south of the Brooks Range, and then about 6,000 feet across southern Alaska, 8,000 to 10,000 feet over the southeast coast, and about 10,000 feet for the western Aleutians. Taking a look at the icing graphic here, front way out there to the west, bringing an increasing threat of some icing in towards Shimia and Attu late in the day. Otherwise, the other area here would be over the southeastern interior. Could be some areas of isolated moderate icing and possible considerable moderate rime icing around Yakutat there in the eastern North Gulf Coast. And for the jet stream, southwest winds 33,000 feet up to 95 knots across the southern Panhandle. Otherwise, 65-knot northerly winds over the western part of the state and a stronger band of northerlies out here over the central Bering Sea. Strongest as they cross the Aleutians, about 100 knots there for Adak and Atka. And for 9,000 feet, high pressure, pretty light winds for the Bering Sea and the Aleutians, as well as the interior here. Not much in the way of any strong wind flow. About 35 knots there for the southern southeast coast, and that's about it. And at 3,000 feet, light variable winds across the Gulf of Alaska into the Panhandle, northward here to the north slope into the Arctic Ocean, light winds, as well as the Bering Sea. And then you got to get out toward the Shimiatu area, and you might see some 40-knot winds out of the southwest. And from there, looking at turbulence, the only area would be with those winds out there for Shimmy and Attu, light to isolated moderate turbulence, surface 6,000 feet, looking pretty smooth elsewhere across the forecast area.